So I want to thank everyone for their comments on this Sefer. And believe me, there are a lot of different languages that a person could use in order to describe God. But the Kabbalists go a certain set of languages and a certain set of ideas. Here we have some beginning to try to understand what's going on in Jewish meditation. This is Jewish mystical meditation. Right now, it's starting. The Rabbi Mimran has been talking about mind control, how to get in control of our minds. There are certain things that happen to us during the day in our business life, in our family life, in our personal life. He's giving us technique to separate the emotional thinking that comes along and it's constantly going on with us, and we go over it and over and over again. How to stop that and to be able to look at the world in a more complete way, in a bigger way. In Kabbalah, this is called the difference between Malkin and Katniss, which happens because of defensive positions, because this is a dangerous world. But also Malkin to Godless. Malkin to Godless really means is that our understanding that behind everything that's going on in the world, everything that happens in your life and the life of those who are around you, is actually motivated by Hashem Yisbarach. So here we have to be able to come back to that, be a vision to be able to see that. If I'm so worried about what's going to happen tomorrow when I make that phone call, or if I go to the doctor, or whatever it would be, I'm so worried about it, my thought is always there. It's possible to look beyond that and understand that Hashem is with you all the time. Not only that, but He is the presenter of all of the different obstacles, cycles, good things, bad things. All of these are made for you to develop yourself. Now let's look at the very last thing that Rabbi Mimran said over here yesterday. I'll get down a little bit closer so I could see it better. He says, simply becoming intensely conscious of your neshama's holy presence is powerfully transformative and deeply satisfying. Now, ultimately, I would say that I feel my neshama's presence when I'm learning. He's talking about situations, not just that. He's talking about your regular daily living. So let's go on to the next place now, and let's see what Rabbi Mimran has to say. He says this next part, it's part 3, it's called right brain thinking. He says the possibility of Vegas, and this is the Moral Mipraga. He says the Vegas that Klal Yisrael have with Hashem, even though it seems to be totally irrational that such a thing could be possible for a person of flesh and blood to be connected to the Creator, which means to eternity, to that force which, whatever, if it's a force or whatever we would call it, brings about reality. Nevertheless, the Torah writes, and you are attached to Hashem, your God, that we're attached anyway. Let me read it again. The possibility of the Vegas that Klal Yisrael have with Hashem, even though it seems to be totally irrational. What's the irrational part? The passionate part is that such a thing could be possible for a person of flesh and blood to be connected to the infinite. Nevertheless, the Torah clearly writes, and you are attached to Hashem, your God. Now, let's read on. He says, if we were to isolate thought, severing its connection to the vast realm of consciousness, that thought would quickly become barren, even insane, and destructive. Unfortunately, we have witnessed the devastating results of this pattern of isolated thought too many times in our world. Now let's see once again what he says, if we were to isolate thought, severing its connection to the vast realm of consciousness. Now, I'm not sure that I understand this phrase, so let's read on a little bit more. He said the mind is crucial to human life. It serves a vital purpose. Essentially, it is a survival machine. It gathers, stores, and analyzes information, and it often operates in a mode of attack and or defense against other minds. It can perform all of these. Let me get this page turned. Of these functions quite well, but it has no creative abilities whatsoever. All true artists, whether they are aware of it or not, mine their genius from a realm beyond their thinking mind. They create from a place of inner stillness, a place of no mind. It is from there that they draw their insight or their creative impulse. Only afterwards does the mind step in to give concrete form to this spark of creativity. So the spark, he says, is not really related to our minds. Even great scientists have reported that their creative breakthroughs have come at times of mental quietude. In a nationwide inquiry among America's most eminent mathematicians, including Albert Einstein, to find out their working methods, the surprising result was that thinking plays only a subordinate role in the brief, decisive phase of the creative act itself. We can conclude, therefore, that the simple reason the majority of scientists are not creative is not that they don't know how to think, but rather that they don't know how to stop thinking. Very interesting. So he says the thinking mind is extremely limited. It is only when human consciousness connects with something far greater than itself, when it connects with the divine, that it becomes capable of real creativity. While we cannot begin to fathom Hashem's limitless creative power, we can glimpse the tiniest hint of it. We look at the miracle of our own bodies, which he created and sustains. For example, how can a single human cell, measuring 1/1000th of an inch in diameter, contain instructions within its DNA that would fill 1,000 100-page books? The more we learn about the workings of the amazing human body, the more we realize just how vast the intelligence who works within it is, and how little we ourselves know. When the mind reconnects with that infinite intelligence, it serves something so much greater than itself, and then it becomes a truly useful and most wonderful tool. Mention in the Kabbalah of the Sphira. In short, they are the vessels through which our Creator allows himself to be revealed here in our universe. I think that's a great, great answer. They were already mentioned in a very early Kabbalistic work written thousands of years ago called the Sefer Yetzirah, and clearly stated to be 10 in number. There are 10 spheros. The reason for this emphasis is because a complete set of 10 spheros represents the metaphoric image of God in which man was created. That is, it's a metaphor. That is, we call this simple word Rosh Tov Sof, that there's a head, there's a body, and there are feet that touch the ground. You could divide that into 10 parts, and that's what the Kabbalah does. The Sephirot are therefore attributes corresponding to certain elemental functions within the human psyche. 10 in number, they can be divided into two categories: the mind or consciousness and forces of emotions. The human mind, which are called mochen in Kabbalah language, is subdivided into three separate aspects or sephirot. These are referred to as Keser, Chachma, and Bina, or Chabad. As you know, the Chabad Lubavitch, they're pronounced slightly different than the Kabbalists. Crown, wisdom, and understanding. Bina, corresponding to the left brain, is defined as the rational, intellectual, and academic brain. It includes the analytical and interpretation function. We were created in the image of God, and that image is both our inner image and that of the entire universe. And we are connected. This is a big idea that, in the interest of time, and real quickly, but in fact that we are a microcosm of the universe. Therefore, as man explores inner space within himself, he is at the same time exploring outer space, because all is in tandem and aligned. Chachma, corresponding to the right brain, is more affiliated with intuitive thinking. It also uses pictorial languages which within a simple image contains a vast amount of information, as opposed to the left, which is the analytical brain. That's the defensive brain. That is constantly searching for distinctions between things. The Chokhmah brain unites and finds commonalities between things, because this is closer to the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, who is only one. This brain has the capacity to intuitively feel situations, not limiting it to the basic information amassed by the five senses alone. Says Rabbi Mimran in his blurb, all true artists, whether they are aware of it or not, mine their genius from a realm beyond their thinking mind. This is Baruch Fleischman, and this is the Tikkun Elevator Kollel.